downtown Torrance. I like that. She's picking it old school. Very. Come to the farmer's market. Don't come with a set menu. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spotlight Torrance, where we're exploring your city. I'm Alexa Sita. Thanks for joining us, and Happy New Year to you all. We hope you had a great holiday season. But if you're like me, sometimes it's a little bit hard to get back into the swing of things after such a long break. So instead of looking ahead, we're actually going to look back at an event that is so important to the Torrance community. Of course, I am talking about the decorating and eventual display of the Torrance Rose Float at the annual Tournament of Roses Parade in Pasadena. And for that, I am joined by our Rose Float correspondent, Gianna Gregorio. Gianna, thank you for joining us, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Now, Gianna, you've had the chance to see firsthand all the hard work that goes into getting the Rose Float finished and ready for the parade. And it's a really exciting time in December when volunteers are decorating the float, but the excitement is actually building a lot earlier in the year, is that right?
That's right. The excitement starts to build in March when the float design is revealed.
The theme of the 2010 parade is a cut above the rest.
And since the theme is so broad, Fiesta Parade Floats presented 5 different designs to the Rose Float Association. Members looked at a gondola with a masked harlequin, a hearts and lovebirds idea, a horse-drawn carriage sketch, and a Latin theme of exotic birds. And after a vote, members selected the winning design, which features a park with a fountain, butterflies, and of course, plenty of flowers.
Well, it is such an impressive design, but I don't think people realize how much work it's going to be to make the float a reality.
It is a lot of work, and the committee conveys that to potential volunteers during the orientation meetings.
For their 56th appearance at the Rose Bowl Parade, the president of the Rose Float Association is gearing up for this year's festivities. And longtime volunteer Pam Barrett is excited to be riding in this year's float.
The float has 8 positions, standing and sitting positions. These are people that pay to be on the float to help the city. And we dress in costume according to what the float is and the design of the float.
The city pays for the majority of the cost of building the float, but the association still needs to come up with a portion of the remaining balance. The cost includes the flowers used to decorate the elaborate float.
You may wonder how each rose stays alive before the day of the parade. That's because each rose is kept in a vial containing water to ensure its freshness.
The association depends on its volunteers to devote long hours from December 26th through the 30th in order to complete the float.
We have so many people from the community that do decorate, and they all come together from 13 to 80 decorating the float, and it's just fun to see the different ages of people working side by side on a common goal.
And for many of the volunteers, they feel privileged to be part of history.
I'm just really honored to be on this committee and in this group and to be able to participate every year.
Well, it gives you a sense of satisfaction that you're helping. In this case, we're helping the city and the residents of Torrance to really come up with something different, a float that's going to be seen by maybe 200 million people throughout the world this year.
So let's fast forward to just a few weeks ago in December when the intense decorating sessions have already begun.
Well, decorating starts the day after Christmas and will continue on to the very last minute. And the volunteers have proven that they are more important than the flowers and the greenery that decorate the float.
Right now I am prepping the corn husk so that he can place it on the float.
For the last 14 years, Mary Jo and her husband Don have volunteered on the Rose Float Decorating Committee. And like partners in life, these two work on the float side by side.
We always say we want jobs up on the scaffolding, and that's usually where we are.
The volunteers work around the clock to make sure the float is finished by the morning of the 31st. Supervisor June O'Neill is amazed at this year's turnout.
We have volunteers from as young as 12 all the way up to, I think we had some ladies today that were in their 90s. Oh, wow. And they come every year. It's so cute to see them.
When the volunteers arrive at Fiesta Parade Floats, they are quickly assigned jobs.
I'm doing the hard job of putting parsley on the green areas of the float. It's fun though, get all sticky.
I'm in charge of gluing coconut macaroons onto this part of the float.
Now this right here is the wing of the butterfly. It's made out of straw flowers, onion seeds, lentil, and rice. Now, depending on the size and the details of the butterfly, it can take up to 24 hours to complete.
These dedicated volunteers put their heart and soul into decorating, and it takes a special person to commit their free time to working on the float.
Person has to have a lot of patience, and sometimes I don't do that. My wife and daughter do, and so they usually do that, and I do some of the bigger work, moving trees or branches.
After tonight, there will be just 2 full days to finish, and all their hard work and dedication will shine through as the float makes its appearance at the parade.
It's just great to see it going down the parade route on New Year's Day.
I wish everyone could just come and put a few little pieces of something on, because then you'd understand what goes into each one of these floats. It's amazing.
Well, every year we get the chance to meet the Rose Float volunteers, and I have to say every year I am so impressed by how dedicated and committed they are to making the float look so beautiful.
It really is fun to see because it's a labor of love for these volunteers.
Right. Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we've got quite a few things still on deck.
Well, we've got officials night, Rose Parade judging, and of course, the parade.
Sounds good. We'll see you after the break. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Albert Pujols, and I play baseball. Today I'm going to bat for kids who need dental care. Every child should be able to eat, sleep, and learn. Well, that's pretty hard to do when you have a toothache. Tooth decay is one of the leading reasons why kids miss school. The American Dental Association Give Kids a Smile program wants to help. Kids cannot be healthy without good dental health. Visit our website and give kids a big smile.
Please visit our website at givekidsasmile.ada.org.
I used to have a goat. Where did it go? It went to a family who really needed it. You see, giving a family an animal is like giving them a business. The wool, milk, eggs all turn into income for medicine, school, clothing, a better home, a sustainable livelihood. Soon, the family is passing on the gift of the animal's offspring to another family who does the same and on until the whole community is lifted out of poverty. That is where my goat went, and that's why you give to Heifer International.
Welcome back to Spotlight Torrance, and today we are joined by Gianna Gregorio, our Rose Float correspondent. And before we went to break, we were talking about how dedicated the Rose Float volunteers are.
That's right, and I think everyone was just really impressed with them, especially city officials, and they had the chance to personally thank them during officials night.
The Rose Float volunteers received cheers from Torrance officials during the last days before the big parade.
It's a chance for everybody to see what the float looks like at this point.
From council members to school board officials, attendees were more than pleased.
It's a nice way to support the community and all the people decorating the floats, and it's a great opportunity to see the float.
Award-winning float designer Raul Rodriguez has been designing the city's floats for years.
I am really honored and always proud to design and work with all the fabulous people of Torrance.
This will be the last time non-volunteers will get to see the float before it makes its way down on Colorado Boulevard come New Year's Day.
I'm excited to see what it's going to look like, and I have a feeling that it's probably going to win another award this year, too.
I think so.
Well, every year the floats get more impressive and more elaborate, and this year, of course, the Torrance float is no exception. And while the Rose Float Association can bask in the glow of such a grand artistic endeavor, they're actually in it also for a little bit of recognition, right?
Absolutely, and for that they turn to the Rose Float judges.
It's down to the wire, and volunteers are making last-minute preparations on the float.
We're going over everything we can with a fine-tooth comb so that we can make sure everything's covered in last-minute details, get things off the floor because they check the floor, it has to be clean.
The float riders are lifted onto the float with the help of a crane, and the yellow tape is put around the float as the judges make their way through the crowd. And while the judges carefully examine the float's details and floral arrangements, the theme music is played. And once the bell is rung, the crowd bursts into applause. This symbolizes the end of judging.
The judges will make their final decision and announce the winners tomorrow morning before the parade. And as far as the float, it will make the 8-hour trip to Pasadena later on this afternoon.
Now, while the accolades from the float judges are probably exciting to receive, I'm sure the pride of getting to see the float roll down Colorado Boulevard in Pasadena has got to be really rewarding. But before we get to the big event, here is some Rose Float trivia for you. Now, this is the 121st time for the Rose Float Parade. It actually started back in 1890 when floats were pulled by human and horsepower. Okay, Gianna, here is a quick quiz for you. What does Gregory Peck, John Wayne, Kermit the Frog, Walt Disney, and Emeril Lagasse all have in common?
Well, they've all served as the Grand Marshals of the Rose Float Parade.
That's right. Now, this year's theme is a cut above the rest, and this year's Grand Marshal is definitely a cut above the rest. I'm talking about American hero and extraordinary pilot Chesley Sully Sullenberger. He helped kick off the parade as Grand Marshal this year. Now, the parade was actually started by Pasadena's Valley Hunt Club, and most of those members were originally from the East Coast or the Midwest, and they were thinking of a way to showcase how incredible the weather here is in Southern California, even in the middle of winter. Fruit is growing, roses are blooming, the sun is shining, and they thought that Southern California is paradise. Now, Gianna, you're originally from Southern California. What did you think of the weather during the parade?
It was chilly. Maybe not like in the East Coast, but definitely cold for the hundreds of thousands of spectators who start lining up outside as early as 20 hours before the parade began.
But you guys didn't need to sleep out for a spot, I imagine.
No, we were really lucky and we had a great spot. And once again, the parade did not disappoint.
The clear skies and perfect but chilly weather set the backdrop for the 121st annual Tournament of Roses Parade. Leading the pack was Grand Marshal Chesley Sully Sullenberger, the famous pilot who landed on the Hudson River. But Torrance viewers were waiting for another debut.
Tick tock, tick tock.
Just minutes before the start of the parade, Grant and Cindy Wells are practicing their wave.
Behind me is Torrance's Rose Float. It took more than 600 volunteers to create this beautiful Garden of Dream theme and this year's winner for the most beautiful non-commercial float.
Hearing firsthand, you know, that it won a major award is fantastic.
I am extremely excited, and it is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity.
And the parade always bring out fond memories.
8-9 years ago, I rode on the float, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of experience.
Torrance also shared the spotlight with Honda, who won the Exceptional Merit Award in multiple categories for their Ship of Dreams float. And the Consulate General of Mexico in Los Angeles float won this year's Judges Special Award for the most spectacular in showmanship and dramatic impact. And as the float passed, reminding us of the new year ahead, people were already thinking of the future.
Just can't wait for the next year to do it again.
We'd love to hear from you, so give us a call at 310-618-5762 or send us an email at spotlight@torranceca.gov. And don't forget, you can catch us every day at 1:30 and 7:30 p.m. Well, what a great parade and what an amazing float by the Torrance Rose Float Association. And believe it or not, the association is already thinking about the float for next year's parade.
That's correct. They'll take some time off, but once they receive next year's theme from the Tournament of Roses Parade Association, they'll start thinking about Torrance's Rose Float for 2011.
Well, luckily that gives volunteers about 12 months to recuperate. It gives them a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
And that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much, Gianna Gregorio, for reporting on all things Torrance Rose Float for us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here on Spotlight Torrance, where we're exploring your city. I'm Alexis Sita. We'll see you next time, and Happy New Year.